If that wasn't disturbing enough, in 2006, we learned of something that Fema calls clergy response teams.
Will law ever become a reality in America? Some fear any nuclear, biological, or chemical attack on U.S. territory might trigger just that. And as KSLA News 12's Jeff Farrell discovered, the clergy would help the government with potentially their biggest problem, us.
From my cold, dead hands.
Charlton Heston's famous declaration captures a truly American value, the overarching desire to protect our freedoms. But gun confiscation is exactly what happened during the state of emergency following Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. U.S. troops also arrived, something far easier to do even now thanks to last year's elimination of the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act. That forbid U.S. troops from policing on American soil. If martial law were enacted here at home, like depicted in the movie The Siege, easing public fears and quelling dissent would be critical. And that's exactly what the clergy response team, as it's called, helped accomplish in New Orleans.
Jeff, the primary thing that we say to anybody is let's cooperate and get this thing over with, and then we'll settle the differences once the crisis is over.
Such clergy response teams would walk a tightrope between the needs of the government versus the wishes of the public.
In a lot of cases, these clergy would already be known in the neighborhoods in which they're helping to defuse that situation.
For the clergy, one of the biggest tools that they will have in helping calm the public down or obey the law is the Bible itself, specifically Romans 13.
Because the government is established by the Lord, and that's what we believe in the Christian faith. That's what's stated in the Scripture.
Civil rights advocates believe the amount of public cooperation may depend largely on how long they expect the suspension of their rights might last. Jeff Farrell, KSLA News 12 reporting.
According to Tuberville, during Hurricane Katrina, the clergy response team provided 38 chaplains a day around the clock at 8 different camps.
38 chaplains round the clock at 8 different camps. Are those the FEMA camps I've been hearing so much about?
A little over a month ago, I had a call. It was like the 1 billionth call from a woman who asked me about FEMA prison camps. And I said to my producer, I said, can we just please debunk this or prove it to be accurate? The basic idea is that FEMA is setting up evil concentration camps to be used against U.S. citizens. I don't believe that there are FEMA concentration camps. I think that sounds kind of nuts. But if there are, I'll show them to you. If there aren't, I'll show that to you. The one guy that can actually set the record straight here is James Meggs. He's the editor-in-chief of that independent group I was talking about, otherwise known as Popular Mechanics. Okay, let's just start with the easy stuff here. And just want to collapse this as quickly as possible. There are things that, yes, FEMA has a right to have camps and they could do things to help people. And if you wanted to go down the crazy road of, but they could be turned into, they actually could be. But there's like a million other steps that have to happen.
What we did was we looked into these claims. You can't go and visit every one of the 600 sites that some of these...
Sure. Let's show the video. First, show me the video that is on the internet. This is one of the so-called concentration camps, or this one's actually, go ahead, show it. I guess a death camp.
So, Glenn Beck uses a straw man tactic to debunk FEMA camps using footage that was discredited years ago.
The woman who made this video initially claims that it's some kind of American Auschwitz, and they've outfitted buildings with gas, and they've got these strange turnstiles. In fact, it is a repair facility, but we also went inside the other buildings, and sure enough, what did we find? They're repairing trains in there. Her name's Linda Thompson, and back in the 90s, she was one of the leaders of the so-called militia movement, and she made a number of videos.
Wait, this is the militia movement that what's his name, Timothy McVeigh was involved with?
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
And I'm not to necessarily tie her to that.
While these two propagandists go off government talking points and badmouth the Patriot movement, just like the Department of Homeland Security extremism document says, a real, informative news piece would have included these pieces of evidence as well. Rumors about FEMA camps began in the 1980s with the Iran-Contra hearings and the testimony of Ali North. North was asked in the hearing about what role he played in continuity of government. otherwise known as COG.
Colonel North, in your work at the NSC, were you not assigned at one time to work on plans for the continuity of government in the event of a major disaster?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that question touches upon a highly sensitive and classified area, so may I request that you not touch upon that, sir.
I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it and wondered if that was the area in which he had worked. I believe that it was,
may I most
confirmation.
respectfully request that that matter not be touched upon at this stage. If we wish to get into this, certain arrangements can be made for an executive session.
At the time, the Rex 84 program called for camps to be built to house illegal immigrants from Mexico. Word spread like wildfire throughout the Patriot community, even to the extent that Bill Clinton was asked about concentration camps.
Go ahead.
On another subject. We have a very great problem in this country today, and I wonder if you would use your leadership to counteract the rumors, the rumor mongers that are abroad in the land who are spreading all these rumors and scaring people to death. Large segments of our citizens believe that the United Nations is taking over whole blocks of counties in Kentucky and Tennessee, and some of them, they believe that we're going to the concentration camp, and they're going to give our army to Russia and all that baloney.
The issue is, we live in an interdependent world. We have to cooperate with people. We're better off than we do. We're better off with NATO. We're better off with the United Nations. We're better off when these countries can work together. So I just think for folks that are worried about this out in the country, they need to be thinking about how we're not going to give up our freedom or our independence, but we're not going to go it alone into the 21st century either.
If Glenn Beck wanted to give you all the facts so you could make up your own mind, he would have included the fact that KBR, Kellogg's Brown & Brew, a subsidiary of Halliburton, was awarded a $385 million contract from the Department of Homeland Security to build detention facilities inside the United States for an influx of immigrants or a national emergency. Even the New York Times reported on this. Congress gave $38 million to the National Park Service to preserve the POW internment camps used for the Japanese Americans during World War II. And here, on the Army's website, is something called the Civilian Inmate Labor Program that provides the Army with policy and guidelines for establishing an inmate labor program on Army installations right here in the United States. In 2009, House Resolution 645, the National Emergency Centers Act, was introduced as a bill to Congress. It states that the establishment of national emergency centers to be located on military installations for the purpose of providing temporary housing, medical, and humanitarian assistance to individuals, families dislocated due to an emergency or major disaster. The legislation also states that the camps will be used to provide centralized locations to improve the coordination of preparedness, response, and recovery efforts of government, private, and not-for-profit entities and faith-based organizations. It also talks about it can be used to meet, quote, other appropriate needs as determined by the Secretary of Homeland Security. And if there's no such thing as FEMA camps, then why on God's green earth is GoArmy.com advertising to hire internment specialists? Remember when Glenn was talking about a million other things had to happen for FEMA camps for them to exist? Well, he also conveniently forgot to tell you about all the executive orders that have been signed since FEMA's creation by the Carter